Welcome back everyone. Can I say raise of hands? People who are back. I can see Krishna Mohan is back. Let's give 2-3 more minutes for remaining folks to join in. Welcome back everyone. Can I see raise of hands? People who are back. Krishna, Umesh, Sandeep, Prashant. Thank you guys. Please put your hands down. Let's proceed ahead. So before the break, we discussed about plenty of details from perspective of what are the available models that we have, and from day in day out tasks that one can perform, we can use co-pilots, or we can use these models, generative AI based models, for text generation, writing assistance, summarization of content that you have. If there are number of meetings that we are attending, so you want to summarize on that, email communication, or any other customer content that we are generating. And if you all might have looked at some of the examples that we did, we were very categoric. We mentioned this information that you are generating is meant for a tour guide, travel guide. So make sure you use that particular kind of language, specify appropriate tone for it, right? So we have used those kind of details. What we are doing right now is using these generative AI for art creation, image generation, any kind of vivid images that you would want to create, any kind of ideation that you would want to have, how realistic or how we can implement that. We are not getting into that area right now. So from creativity perspective, we are looking at options available here. As part of our cloud foundry, I showcased different resources which can help us for video creation, music and audio creation as well. So there are different type of options which are available, ranging from daily productivity to advanced kind of scenarios that one can leverage upon. This should be the right diagram to showcase different options available from a corporate perspective. So from an automation point of view, transaction management, supply chain management, robotics, any kind of authentication, authorization, detection, right? Any of the processes that we want to automate, we can leverage on generative AI over there. Personal productivity tools I have just mentioned about, I don't want to repeat that. In terms of customer engagement, sentiment analysis, transcription, advertising, any kind of personalization for a specific customer, capturing all the previous information or interactions we had with that user, right? From products and services point of view, we can have simulation, procurement. I'll go into more details of each of these scenarios as we proceed ahead. So if you look at the real world applications of generative AI, let's go into those details here. So first part we already have mentioned in terms of content generation. I also mentioned about the third use case, which is code generation, debugging. As far as data analysis is concerned, so using GitHub Copilot, using generative AI based services, we can upload, or if you look at Copilot using Excel, all these things are examples of data analysis and insights. Along with this, from broad level perspective, say decision making or strategic planning, so as an individual or as an organization, what is the future roadmap that I see for myself? So if you look at the project details, what should be the next steps going ahead? How we can enhance our current application, enhance our current product, right? Those things, those information or those ideas we can get from here. Will it be 100% intact? The answer is it is not, because like we mentioned, it is based on the previous information, previous details which is being provided. It may not have a future insight because that data itself is not there, correct? So we'll have to take some inputs from here, apply ourselves, and then take a future call on the options being provided. So if you look at set of case studies available here, if you look at one of the case studies today in terms of healthcare and diagnostics, this is where major implementations have been seen, because as a human being it requires good amount of experience, right, to know how to scan or how to observe minutest details within the given x-rays or within the reports that we have. Generative AI can assist in predicting the patient outcomes and what could be the treatment plans for it, provided we specify all the relevant details from what is the patient history and whatever options are being provided, which will be the most relevant one or which will be the most optimal one, that a human being can decide, but it can provide us with those information. In terms of some of the risk which people see is challenge in terms of data privacy and what is the algorithm being used behind the scene to fetch that information, perform those analysis. Now there are various models which are available, various uh, third party models or even custom models. One of the models which I had worked with the team, which is in Siemens Health Engineers. They were working on a specific model which is from health management perspective, working on the imaging areas. This requires a lot of training of the underlying resources. But once we have the models being created from a business domain point of view, it can be very, very effective from a long term perspective. In terms of content creation, this is something which most of us are aware about. Third important use case which everybody has been looking at, and even in recent times we have seen success of these resources within India. Abroad it is there for quite some time. Autonomous vehicles. So using number of sensors available over here, we can simulate the driving scenarios, testing scenarios over here, and what it includes or what it focuses on is reduction in terms of accidents and improved traffic efficiency. So tracking and adding the efficiency within the current environment, that is something which people are looking at. Now when it comes to regulatory compliances, this is something which is an area of discussion across the globe, with different countries playing different roles, and each of them have their own thought process, what would be acceptable, what is not acceptable. Fourth and very important use case over here would be in terms of personalized education, creating appropriate learning plans. Most of the requests that comes to us as an organization or as an individual is, Om Prakash, what should be the learning path which I should follow if I have to become a administrator or get into higher roles within IT infrastructure management, which what all things should I do? I want to get good in terms of DevOps as an implementation. What would be the right programs for it? Correct? Now, some of these questions where the end objective is clear, it becomes easier for us to create a plan. And one more thing which will be required over here is, what is your current status? What is your background or knowledge that you have? Based on that, we can we can get the prerequisites, right? What is the prerequisite learning which is required, and then create the next set of steps or next set of plans for an individual, right? Now this earlier was being done with manual intervention. With AI coming into picture and lot of OEMs, learning organizations, right? They have shared their plans, they have shared their resources, right? It becomes easier for us to craft out the initial level plan. Apart from this, if you look at chemical industry or chemistry as a subject, especially drug discovery, where molecular structure, creating complex diagrams, creating complex formulas over here, this is another place where people are using generative AI with lot of pre-existing information, pre-existing details, side effects, what is the kind of chemical formulations which are stable, chemical formulations which are uh, beneficial for human beings, what is the side effects of that, right? So all those variable parameters have to be taken into considerations, and keeping those hyper parameters in mind is what LLMs are meant to do. That's why this becomes a most viable use case, or I would say more effective use case, where such kind of high end processing or so many variables are required over here. And with quantum computing coming to picture, right, this becomes even more easier for us. Another important case study you all must have realized is in terms of fraud detection, checking for behavioral analytics of individuals, looking at behavioral analytics of various account holders, right? So any change in terms of those standard behavioral patterns can be identified, and this can be utilized not just in financial sector but even basic authentication, authorization, even there it can be used. So if a person is logging from a specific location, specific organization, specific set of IP addresses, a device ID, suddenly how does it change? And if it is changing very frequently, every alternate day, or across 2 to 3 hours, right, that becomes an area of concern. So in those cases, one has to leverage on generative AI resources to find out the standard pattern, and if there is too much of deviations from that, raise a alert for it. So if there are any false positives, we can come to know that as well. If there are any challenges or issues, we can alert the customer in advance. So these are set of case studies that one can leverage upon using generative AI. Let's go back to our exercise. So we have done 4 exercises till now. There are 3 more exercises to go. Let's go to the next one. Let's go to the exercise, plan the menu. So till now we have worked with the entrance, we have worked with the features. Let's go for planning the menu. I have pasted the link on the chat. Food and refreshments are an important part of a destination. They can enhance the mood, theme, and experience. Okay, so for this destination, we have been working together. I'd like to think about the food options available. This part of the project is called as food. So this is part 3 of the project. So we have worked with the, I don't know what's going wrong in my environment. Just give me a moment. So entrance we have done. We then moved on to features. The third thing, we are looking at the food menu. For this destination, we have been working together. I like to think about the food options available. This part of the project is referred as food. So as far as these stages are concerned or the members are concerned, this can help us to tweak or tune certain areas. 5 curated food concepts: forest to table, mystery course, interactive culinary rituals, twilight tea ceremony, and elevated dining pods. So you all must have got a similar kind of details. Could you create a menu formatted as a table which includes the name, description? The description should clearly outline ingredients and how it's served. The name and description should also embrace theme of our destination. So 5 ideas are already there. You just have to format into a table with more detailing. So what is the mechanism in terms of the output required? So there was a food concept earlier which was being shown. You can see the details over here. Twilight forage, mist and ember, echo of earth, moonlit grove. So what is the kind of food items that you would want? So some part you'll see is common over here. So forage is one of the common areas which was mentioned earlier. Mystic mushroom, canopy cocktail. I have canopy nectar. So some areas, some details will remain common because like I mentioned earlier, the intent or the theme remains as is. What will change over here is the detailing over here. Iterate as needed. Perhaps you would like a vegetarian menu or you like your dishes to be served in a family style. I would prefer only vegetarian dishes. So mist and ember, smoked river trout wrapped in banana leaves. This was a non-vegetarian option. It has replaced that ember roasted heirloom root vegetables. So there's no more non-vegetarian options available within this, within the 5 options which is being mentioned. So I can use some of the tips being mentioned over here. Can you create an image for the first menu item suggested? So first one over here is twilight forage. Let's go ahead, create an image for it. Everyone, go ahead, create the image. The tourist got the image created, canopied on salad. So I can see one more. Anyone else? So I can see Natwar and Umakant have done with it. Anybody else? For me, it is just getting created. So I have got twilight forage. There's one more coming up from Samuel. So depending upon whichever option you all might have selected, can you create the image for you can use visualize mist and root dish. So whichever resource or whichever option you want to go for within the available resources. You all can try out for other options available here. So once we have done with food, let's go for the drink, which is the next section. Ideate a signature drink. It should be a unique and experience in itself. It might embrace local ingredients, culture, cues from the theme to influence how they look, how they are served, how they are made. You can look at some of the options over here. Taking some time. Meanwhile, this is loading. Shubh has already mentioned the badge link. You all can redeem the badge. Just make sure while you are redeeming it, use your Microsoft Learn ID, whatever you all might have used earlier, Gmail ID, Hotmail ID. Use the same ID where you have your earlier Learn resources. Perfect. So Prashant, can you paste the image here? Put the image on the chat. For me, it's taking some time. I'll go for the next one. Ideate a signature drink. So you'll realize for every resource, first it has specified the description to clarify what is the expectation, and once the expectation is clear, look at the options being generated and then go deeper into the specific option. Signature drink, forest dew tonic, canopy bloom, eco mist, twilight nectar, and where is this information coming from? It is also mentioning the link for it. Signature cocktail creation, crafting unique drinks for events. Now some of these details you'll see similar: forest elixir, herbal infusion. So here we already have some options available. So it says we need to ideate about the signature drink. Can you give me 3 ideas for signature refreshments or drinks? Please be inclusive. Include something in your suggestion for everyone. Also name them something clever that reflects the theme. So it is an extension of the previous information that we had mentioned. So out of the earlier mentioned details, 5 of them, it has picked 3. Let's now go ahead, generate an image. Can you create an image to visualize the first drink that you have suggested? So in this case, Eco Bloom is the third one. Whisper Leaf is the first one in my case. Let me go for that. So as far as the drink is concerned, it starts from here, ideating a signature drink. The first prompt is giving the details of what we are expecting. So this is more like setting a context. This is more like setting a context for what should a signature drink consist of. Right? So this will be the first prompt. Second prompt over here would be asking for specific 3 details, because by default it has given 5 details. This will be your second prompt. And third would be the image creation. Anyone who has got the drink image? For dishes, I can see quite a few. So you can realize the amount of context it is maintaining about the entire information that we have mentioned, then going to respective features, entrance, food, drink, right? Every aspect. And finally, we are going to correlate or associate all of them together. That's what is the entire idea over here. It's taking some time. Anyone got it done? Please put it on the chat so everybody can refer that. I'm trying for others as well parallelly. If I can get any one of them working. So network has got one. Whisper leaf also should be similar kind. Anyone else who has got it? Prashant, Umakant, Samuel. Not sure this has failed. No, something wrong with me. My environment is not working. It's not even giving me the option to post the message here. Maybe I have ran out of tokens. That could be a possibility. Let's see if it is able to pick from the previous context. Yep, this was faster using GPT-5. Let's proceed ahead. So I've got the details for the drink as well. Iterate on the image with reference, copy the sample prompt. When you paste it into the chat, select an image icon on the right, upload a photo you want to reference. I don't have a image specifically mapping to the drink. Let me try that. Could you take the account image just created and add some of the smoke showing in this image? I don't have account image. Instead I have whisper leaf. Let me change the details here. You all can also try the same. Whisper leaf, elixir image, add some smoke to the image, upload your image. Okay, this is instruction. It's not a there is a slight smoke in my image already available. So if I want to add more smoke to it, it's generating code over here. I don't need the code. So this is what happens when the context is lost. We are suddenly moved from GPT-4 to GPT-5. So it says, Om Prakash, tell me what, upload me the image or give me the image. So now it has lost context in my case. That's why it is asking these questions. Otherwise, these questions actually are not required. It has all the prior information, prior data. In your case, if you all continue with the same environment, you all will not have an issue. Initial one was faster. It's taking time. So I'm sure everybody else is done with the food and drink options. You all can put your respective images on the chat. For me, it's taking some time. I leave it as it is. Let me go back to my presentation. So I was discussing about set of case studies available, case studies in drug discovery, financial fraud detection, authentication, authorization. Along with this, we already mentioned about customer service. Now this is one of the most important areas for variety of organizations. Each organization which is customer facing, it becomes difficult for us to keep a track of what was our last conversation, what did the customer ask for, what was the timelines that we have promised, right? So keeping track of all this information becomes difficult. Knowing about every customer, making sure we have right kind of services being provided to them, right? What is the uh, initial cost, what was the new cost where that was being discussed, what was the promises and uh, agreements that we had, right? Any change in terms of contract, right? All this information, keeping a track of it becomes difficult, and that's where AI comes into picture. So once we have stored these information and we train our model for it, so depending upon the customer name or customer details being mentioned, it will automatically perform those tasks, perform the required uh, verification, checking the various criteria and details which is being mentioned, and it can provide us right kind of inputs, right kind of details for it, that for this customer this is what was being promised, this was the timelines, and this is something which can be prioritized. Now that is something which is essential for us. In customer service business, every customer is equally important, but we'll have to prioritize depending upon factors. Now those variables or those parameters have can be mentioned as part of our environment. In terms of supply chain, checking for inventory management, checking for simulations for supply chain disruptions. So which vendors to work with, which vendors not to work with, what is the current timelines that we have, what are pending payments for respective vendors, right? Leveraging on generative AI for working with those members, this would make sense for us. Creative art is something that we are already working with in terms of environmental monitoring, weather forecasts, right? Again, and you'll realize each of these areas have large number of variable parameters. Things can change on the run. So how we can train our models to work with these resources, work with these members, legal document analysis, cyber security, HR, right? These are some of the case studies where as an organization we can create custom models, we can fine tune our existing models and provide right kind of responses to it. AI for disaster response, right? So having quick response to our existing scenarios where interacting based on human judgment with AI recommendations. This could help us to revive or help any individual who has met with an accident, right? So these are the cases where AI can help. So if you look at the primary use cases that we have discussed, around 20 use cases I have ran through, and out of this, one of the most essential use cases where it is being used today in majority of scenarios is healthcare, finance, education, customer service, marketing, legal departments, your software generation through GitHub Copilot, HR, right, manufacturing process, supply chain management, and retail. These are some of the primary areas, top use cases, I would want to put it that way, where usage of hyperparameters helps us with leveraging on the technology and certain aspects which take even weeks to build, or there are huge timelines for that, become simple, effective, and we are able to manage them easily. I have uploaded the image here, create a menu, let us go to the next exercise. Idea, so food and drink is done, ideation of ambience and music, we need to think about music. Can you create a table of 10 songs with artist, song name that would fit for this destination? Nature inspired lyrics or tones, so it is still carrying some of the previous uh, context which I have set. It is showing me relevant information mapped to that same context. So formatting of details we already have seen earlier. Let us go to the next member over here, creating a branding material. Let us go ahead, create a branding material for our theme. Verdant Wheel, Sylvan Sanctuary, Whisperwood Retreat, Moss and Moonlight, the Hidden Canopy, Whisper Leaf, Heaven. So some of the dishes that you must have seen earlier, or drinks you might have seen earlier, the new names which is being generated is also aligned with the same. Can you create a 3-sentence description in the tone of a travel publication that really captures the essence of destination for potential visitors. Tucked away in a hidden groove, destination invites to sit beneath a canopy of whispering leaves, glowing moonlight. Every detail from emerald elixirs to the soft and curl of mist. It's not just a place to drink, it's an escape into nature's most enchanting secrets. I'm trying to design a magazine ad concept, an advertisement. Let's see if it captures all the earlier information. As far as images are concerned, images uses much higher number of tokens as compared to normal text based information. So the smoke which I was mentioning earlier, now you can see that details over here. Can you all try the same? Design a magazine ad concept. So once we have the theme ready, once we have all the relevant details being mentioned, I am trying something else as well, creating a single image by combining the entrance and features mentioned earlier. So we can have separate images, we can combine these images. So whatever steps that we have mentioned earlier, we can merge those steps over here. You will see at different steps it has mentioned very categorically that if you are not getting the output in the first go, don't worry on that. You can iterate. Even if you are not getting the image correctly, you can again iterate in sense, give the prompt again, mention the details, uh, mention the details over here in terms of what specifics do you want, any other values that you would want to change if it is not up to the mark, right? So all those modifications, all those changes we can do over here. Anybody else who has got the magazine concept, or you can create a logo for your theme. Perfect. So I can see Umakant has posted over here. Beyond the wheel, the wonder awaits. Yeah, I think even in my case it happened the same. So what I did is I moved to GPT-5, tried doing that. Samuel, see if that works for you. Since we are using a free version or a web version, that's where you have these restrictions. So guys, don't worry with it. These are monthly quota. So within a day or two, this will automatically refresh and you will get the new quota. Anyone else apart from Umakant who have got it done? Samuel is already working on it. Natwar, how about you? Okay. Meanwhile, this is getting created in the backend. Let me proceed ahead. Let's take a few questions over here. So while this is getting generated, let's take a few questions. And I need all of you all to respond on the chat. So what has been the primary focus of this current course? Data analysis, artificial intelligence, web development, cyber security. So I can see two answers over here by Samuel, Umesh. Anybody else? Okay, so that's the right answer. So have we have been discussing consistently about what is the relevance of AI in various fields. So application of AI in data analysis, application of AI in terms of cyber security and every other use case that we have discussed. Let's go to the next question. So what is the prerequisite for AI 3024? Umesh says it's B. Anyone else? Actually, the right answer over here is C. You need to know basic graphic designing skills, because if through the entire program we have not used any kind of programming or maths over here. What we have used is the imaginary skills, and that is specific to AI 3024. I am saying in this program the primary thing that we have been working with is graphic design skills. So it's actually C, graphic design skills. Let's go to the third question. Which AI learning type is not covered? So which of these four options we have not discussed? Samuel said it's D. Umesh agrees to him. Anybody else? That's the right answer. It's quantum learning. So what we have not discussed about is quantum learning. We have discussed about supervised learning, labeling, numbering, unsupervised learning, k-mean clustering, reinforcement learning, which is part of our machine learning algorithms. Let's go to the next question. Okay. What key ethical aspects are not being covered? Sorry, what key ethical aspects are covered over here? I think this should be easy based on the options which are available. That's right. So it's privacy, transparency, and some of these principles you will see is part of Microsoft reliability, Microsoft AI reliability principles. So what is the outcome that we are trying to achieve over here? So while doing different set of hands-on, what do we are trying to achieve over here? So it's graphic design experience and how we can generate images based on the text being mentioned, based on vivid description of details, vivid description in terms of standard system prompts, right, giving other user instructions, how we are going to create appropriate images over here. That's what we are focusing on. So what is not a core AI topic in AI 3024? D again, quantum computing, because we have discussed about RAG based algorithms, search algorithms, knowledge representation, problem solving methods. So which is the real world application once it comes to AI 3024? Major focus over here is creating a graphic design. What will be the outcome based on the details being mentioned over here? What is the key goal of AI ethics training? That's right. Ensure fairness and accountability. Now this is one very important point, guys. When it comes to these models, if it has a biased data, it will never give you a right kind of output. Biased data in sense, if you are showing only a bad areas of a particular resource, right, that will be create a challenge. So what it has to do is it has to have a fair data with appropriate mean being captured over here. That's why we have something called as k-mean clustering. So we need to make sure we have appropriate data, right set of information being captured, and then train the model accordingly. As far as ownership of this data is concerned, the ownership is taken care by the service provider. In our case, especially when you use OpenAI or you are using Microsoft AI Foundry, Microsoft is the one who owns these models. Which modules cover AI history and search? Anyone? Any suggestions here? It's actually A, foundations of artificial intelligence. This is where we discussed about AI history. So the same as point that we discussed earlier. So if you look at various resources that we have in context of AI references, so you have your AI documentation, various tutorials that you all can look at. You all can look at your GitHub repository where you already have pre-built code, especially in terms of semantic kernel. You all can also look at some kind of Llama or LangChain based implementations, right? So you have different options available with where you have developer resources, where you have low code, no code resources, right? So depending upon which kind of background we come from, if we are from developer background using Python or .NET, you have lot of pre-existing code for it. So one can leverage on those resources. We can use Microsoft Learn modules. So you'll see this entire course is on Microsoft Learn, and we have looked at some of the pre-existing prompts which can help us to generate this outputs. Apart from this, you all can use Azure AI documentation. So one of the links which I shared on the chat earlier regarding quick steps for AI Foundry, that is all part of your AI service documentation. So if you want to go to machine learning or you go to specific areas over here, you have separate links for machine learning available at the same place. Just give me a moment. Let me share that details once again. So on left hand side you can see appropriate categories over here. So if you want to go into specific cognitive services, custom vision, content safety, or LUIS, which is Azure AI language, you have vision APIs, right? So you have AI face API and vision API, both of it. These are some of the pre-existing cognitive services. If you want to go into specifics of machine learning, we can do that. And the latest one which I mentioned about was in terms of AI Foundry. So from learning and implementation perspective, we have enough and more resources available which one can leverage upon. So as part of this AI 3024 program, the course that we have been through is more in terms of using understanding what is AI all about, generative AI, going into more specifics of it, and how to use generative AI for working with images, themes, visual representation of complex aspects, and imaginary details that one would want to mention. So this brings us to an end of our current course. Anybody has any questions, doubts, queries, please put it on the chat. I'll be more than happy to answer those questions. So Proful, you can go through the documentation, right? If you want to go for low code, no code solutions, you can look at Copilot Studio. So the recent one, which is there in terms of low code, no code solution for AI, that will be your Copilot Studio. Anything beyond development is available here. Anything as part of development is part of your AI Foundry. Umakant, you can take any resource group name. There is no specific name which is required. Generally, I prefer to use OpenAI resource group, but there is no hard and fast or a naming convention for it. So a resource group primarily is a logical container for all the resources that we are creating. Say for example, you are working with for a specific customer, so you can create a resource group for that customer or for that organization, and then create all resources in that resource group. So it's a logical grouping of resources from a specific point of view. That's a difficult question to answer. Say if I don't have a programming knowledge, how I can proceed for AI? So if you don't have programming knowledge, then go for Copilot that we were using today. Specify whatever details one would want, right? And then you can use whichever model you require, GPT 4.0, or you want to go for GPT 5. That's one way. Second way is using low code, no code solution using your Power Platform. So within Power Platform, you have lot of options like AI Builder or Copilot Studio, which can help you to create agents. And these agents actually are using a generative AI models. Third option is Microsoft 365 Copilot. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, in all of them you have Copilot options added. So for non-developers, this will be the best way to use generative AI. Umesh, does it make sense? I'm sure everybody has redeemed the badge. If not, you can click on the link shared by Shubh. So Umesh, you can connect to Shubh, or you can connect to Shubh, and we can work together on upcoming courses. We have lot of free courses also being done. So for all that details, you can connect to Shubh.
Thank you so much, everyone, for attending this session. I request you to please redeem your learning achievement badges and please do fill the feedback form. It's really very important for us. Please do fill the feedback form before ending the session. Once you are done with these two things, you can end the session. So please, guys, don't forget to redeem your badges and please do give your feedback. I've shared the link in the chat box.
Yes, Praful. So you have a programmatic way, code-based solutions, and no-code solutions. There's no difference as such. I would say, uh, if you say no-code solutions, you can't do a lot of customizations there. Whereas code-based solutions, you can create your own customizations. That's the primary difference. Thank you very much, everyone. Please provide your valuable feedback